going to convert fractions to decimals in this lesson. And I'm going to show you two different ways and how that can be done. Let's explore the first way, which is to make the denominator equal to 10 or 100. And so we have two examples here. In this example, the first fraction that we're starting off with is 2/5. And I know that 5 can be converted to 10 if I multiply it by 2. So I'm going to take this fraction here, 2/5, and I'm going to multiply it by 2/2, okay? And so 5 times 2 is 10, and 2 times 2 is 4. And the reason why I multiplied it by 2/2 is because 2/2 is equal to 1. We know that any number times 1 is that same number, or an equivalent value of that same number. So 2/2 is equal to 1 whole. 2/5 times 1 whole is going to give me the same amount as 2/5, but just in different form, just different numbers, which is 4/10. And now my denominator is equal to 10. And if you read this fraction, you say 4/10. Well, what does a decimal look like as 4/10? Well, you have a 4 in the tens place, so it's going to be 0.4. So 4/10 is equal to 4/10. These are equivalent, okay? In another example down here, I have 11/20. And I know that 20 can be converted to 100 by multiplying it by 5, because 20 times 5 is 100. So I'm going to take 11/20, and same method as I did up here. I'm going to multiply it by 1 whole, but I have to have 5 as my denominator, so 5 is also going to be my numerator. I'm going to do 11/20 times 5/5. So 20 times 5 is 100, and then 11 times 5 is 55. And that gives me 55 hundredths. Well, what does that look like as a decimal? We have 0.55. We have 55 hundredths. So this fraction right here, 55 over 100, is equal to 55 hundredths over here. And keep in mind, this is now also equivalent to this fraction right here. 11 over 20 is equivalent to 55 hundredths. Same thing here, 2/5 is equivalent to 4/10. Okay? And the only way we figure that out is just to make our denominator, our denominator a 10 or a 100, so we can figure out what numbers to put after the decimal in our decimals. So that's one way that you can convert a fraction to a decimal, and that's if you can convert your your denominator to a power of 10. Another way that you can convert a fraction to a decimal is to divide the numerator by the denominator. You can do that with these over here too, but this one's easier if you can do it this way. But let's say you have a denominator that you cannot make a 10 or 100, such as 6 or 8. Okay, so right here I have the example of 3/8. And I know that I cannot make an 8 go into 10 or into 100 easily. So I'm going to divide 3 by 8, divide my numerator by my denominator. Now if you have a single digit as your numerator, you'll probably have to add your decimal place and then put some zeros afterwards. And that's just so that you can divide your denominator into your numerator easily. So that's what I did here. I had 3, and so I added a decimal point and then some zeros after the 3. And I divided 8 into 3. Well, 8 doesn't go into 3. So I divided 8 into 30, and it goes into 30 3 times. 3 times 8 is 24. I did my subtraction and I got a 6. Brought down one of those zeros, and I remembered 8 goes into 67 times, because 8 times 7 is 56. And so 7 times 8 is 56. I subtracted there, and I had a 4. So I brought down another 0, and I figured out that 8 goes into 45 times. So 3/8 is equivalent to 0.375 or 375 thousandths. So these two are equivalent. Okay? And so here are two samples down here. I have 5/6 and 4/25. And you can go ahead and pause the video if you want to try these and challenge yourself and figure them out based on the examples that we've done so far. Or we can go ahead and do them together. I think I'm going to use blue. Alright, So 5/6. I don't know if 6 can go, I know it doesn't go into 10 evenly. I'm pretty sure it doesn't go into 100 evenly. So I'm going to use the dividing method to figure out what the decimal equivalent is for 5/6. I'm going to get down here and I'm going to divide my numerator, which is 5, by 6. Okay? And I know that 6 doesn't go into 5 because it's a single digit, so I'm going to put a decimal and put some zeros afterwards. Okay? So like I said, 6 doesn't go into 5, but I'll put my decimal up there too. So that's going to be a 0. But 6 goes into 50, I know. It goes in 8 times. And 8 times 6 is 48. And I'm going to subtract that, and it's going to give me 2. So I'll bring down another 0. And I know that 6 goes into 23 times without going over. 3 times 6 is 18. And I'm going to subtract that. Oh, and I have another 20 here. Okay? So what I assume is going to happen is I'm going to have a repeating decimal. So I'm going to put 6 into 20 one more time, which is going to be 3 again. 3 times 6 is 18. Subtract. It's going to give me 2 again. Instead of doing that over and over and over again, once I see that this is a pattern that's going to continue and I can't break from it, I'm going to put this repeating bar above my 3's so that I know that this decimal goes on forever. It's 0.8333333, but in this case I'll just say it is close to 0.833 with the repeating bar, or 833 thousandths approximately. And that is equivalent to 5/6. That's the decimal for that fraction. Now 4/25 is going to be a little bit easier, okay? If I think of money and I think of 25 cents, well, I know 25 cents, if I add it a couple of times, will give me $1. In fact, 25 cents is equal to a quarter. If I have 4 quarters, I have $1 or 100 cents. So I know that if I multiply this times 4, I'll get 100. Okay, so if I'm multiplying 25 times 4, I have to do the same thing on the top. Okay, because this has to be equivalent to 1 whole. So 4/4. So 25 times 4 is 100. 4 times 4 is 16. And if I read this out loud, I have 16 hundredths, which as a decimal looks like this. 16 hundredths. Okay, so my decimal that is equivalent to 4/25 is 16 hundredths, and it looks like that. And that's converting fractions to decimals.